have sound. Welcome to Woolen Spinning. My name is Rachel, and I can be found pretty much everywhere as well for pearls. Welcome to episode 207, and the last of, I guess, coming up 5 episodes now. We have been spinning through the Sheep Breeds kit from the School of Sweet Georgia as part of my new workshop. So we will get on the wheel again today, and we will be looking at Romney. And Romney is one of my absolute most favorite wools, and so I hope that you enjoy spinning along with me for that. Last week we did Wensleydale, the week before we did Finn, the week before we did Rambouillet, and the week before we did Merino. So we've really kind of covering the gamut. Next week will be, I can't actually remember. I think it's Scotland. And then we'll move into the downs, and then we will move into the primitives, and the double coats. So that'll be really fun. So how are you? How are you guys doing? Welcome to new viewers. I hope that you find something here within the show that you enjoy and that speaks to you. If you're a returning viewer, thank you so much for continuing to check out the show and to watch. If you don't mind taking a moment to hit subscribe and like, I would really appreciate that. And to those who are patrons of the community, thank you so much for continuing your ongoing support of the show and of what goes on here at Woolen Spinning, from the How I Spin content, which is a monthly vlog of spinning at the wheel, in-depth discussion around my projects and the reflections and what goes into making the yarns and the subsequent projects often. We've been recently looking at luxury fibers all year. So our spinning pearls, which are our monthly teaching content, which is also in the form of a vlog as well as a written transcript, has been focused along with How I Spin in all things luxury this year. So what have we covered so far, you guys? We've done a whole bunch of the different silks. We've done Kiviot, we've done cashmere. This summer we're looking at all of the camelids, so I hope that you'll take a moment and check that out. As well, there is the bonus podcast, which is the audio podcast Woolen Spinning Radio, and it's kind of turned into a second video cast because when you click on the post for Woolen Spinning Radio, there is a direct YouTube link there, and it takes you to the video for that discussion, because we've started using Zoom because of everything with the pandemic, and you guys will be able to sort of see each other and see who makes up our beautiful community. We also had a maker morning this past week, and it was really a lot of fun. Thank you to everybody who came. I kind of got cut off right at the end. It was like right at 8 o'clock, and I had to duck out because of we had some contractors show up to do some work for us that we've been waiting for them to do, and they showed up right at 8 o'clock, so I had to kind of duck out. But thank you to everybody who was there, and I will post that link for our Patreon community to catch up with that maker morning later today. So thank you so much to everybody who was able to join and attend. Our next maker morning that everybody is invited to is on the 22nd of July. So I hope that you will have a chance to come and check that out and to come and be a part of all of that, because we really have a lot of fun. Diana wants to know how I get all this done. I don't know sometimes, Diana. I don't know. I do work ahead. I will say sometimes there was a comment on Maker Morning. We were kind of laughing about it as a community. I was talking about September, and somebody was like, oh my goodness, I'm like still here in July. So I do work ahead a lot, and I do work on stuff ahead of time. And part of what I really enjoy is taking my projects and turning them into teachable content to share with you guys what my process actually is and what I actually do. Book club yesterday was awesome. I was only able to attend for about half an hour, but it was really a great discussion. And Becca puts the links in our Zoom chat in the channel #books so that you guys can catch up as we're reading through the books. So this coming Friday, I think we're doing part 4 of There. If I'm not, I might be mistaken. I've actually read ahead with that book because I've been enjoying it so much. If you're looking for a book recommendation, definitely check out There by Tommy Orange. All right, so what we've got going on for today is we're going to look at the Romney. We're going to have a look at that right on the wheel. I have a skein of finished Romney Icelandic that we talked about in the wool circle yesterday morning that I really wanted to share with you guys, just because it's a really beautiful skein. So I wanted to wax poetic for just a moment. And then I have a major progress on my Enchanté, which is a pattern by Emily Louie, which we'll chat about as well. And then we'll get into community participation. So we've kind of got a packed show today, and I hope that you guys enjoy it. And I will see you on the other side. All right, so let me wax poetic for just a moment about the Wool Circle, which is our bi-monthly live stream where we actually spend the entire time in this same format with the live chat at the wheel, just spinning. So that if that is something that interests you, if that is something that speaks to you, that might be something for you to check out. We do that twice a month, and it's called the Wool Circle. It's one of the tiers on Patreon. So this is my Romney Icelandic. This was something that was sent to me by my friend Jenny, who's a part of our community. I don't know what the weight is of this, and I really am terrible. I haven't done the grist yet. I'm going to sneeze because I was just so in love with spinning this, and I was so enjoying it that it's actually ended up being the springboard for what we're going to do today with the Romney. So this was a Romney 50-50, so it was a 50-50 Romney Icelandic. So this is a natural shade. I'm going to leave it this color. It was pin drafted roving, so Jenny had the fleece. It was a 50-50 Romney Icelandic in the fleece. So the sheep was a 50-50 crossbreed. And what the roving was this, and she sent it to Wellington Fibers, which is a mill in Ontario. I think it's in Ontario. It's not in Quebec. And the cool thing about this is that sort of it's ended up being this sort of almost like taupey kind of color. And it's not totally ivory. It's not totally creamy white. It's just sort of this slightly taupey kind of color. And it's created this really lovely heathering, and I suspect the fleece itself had quite a bit of heathering in it as well. And the pin drafted roving was just beautiful. And one of the things that I really like about the medium wools, I'm going to sort of just clump Icelandic and Romney in as medium just for a minute, but you'll understand in just a sec why I'm doing that. Because you've sort of got all this stuff happening in the fleece. You've got sort of a longer wool depending on the Romney. You've got sort of this double coat depending on the Icelandic. And then it's kind of all combined into this pin drafted roving and into this fleece and these genetics of this sheep. And what I really enjoyed about this is because the staple length was a little bit longer than, say, a pin drafted Cormo or a pin drafted Rambouillet, where you've got these fine fibers that tend to be a little bit shorter stapled. Tend to be. Everything, there's always an exception. When you pre-draft the roving, it just created this lovely bouncy airy prep, and so I ended up actually putting it on my distaff on my Kromsky. So you can see that I've got my distaff dressed behind me with some fiber from West Coast Color, which is here in Tappan, British Columbia. Our friend Lynn Anderson, if you guys want to check her out. I've talked about Lynn lots over the years. And so I loaded it onto the distaff, and I just sort of kept it up on the wheel just like that and spun off the distaff. And I just kept unwrapping it when I needed more fiber. And what sort of ended up happening was, you know, this really gorgeous, you know, light, airy, fluffy yarn. I wasn't spinning to any particular crimp or any particular twist per inch or any kind of particular finished product. I was just sort of spinning. We did some sampling on the Wool Circle that 2 weeks ago. So this is the episode that went live on, I think it was June it was the last Friday in June, I think. Yeah, June 25th. Because it took me quite a while to actually get this spun. I worked on it for like basically solid for the last 2 weeks. And you can see what ended up happening was just this sort of semi-woolen, light, fluffy, airy yarn, twist angle of about 40 degrees. The finished twist per inch is about, or wraps per inch, sorry, is about 14, which seems to kind of be my default these days. It's sort of somewhere between 16 and 14. So I'd say I would average it and say it was 15 wraps per inch. So a light sport. And yeah, it just ended up really coming out nicely, and I really, really enjoyed making this. So I wanted to share that with you guys because this ended up being about 400 yards of yarn, so pretty hefty amount, something that I could actually really do something with, which is wonderful. I'm excited about that, and I'm going to put it aside. I might actually use it for my gray roop. I might throw it in with that, and because it's just the perfect color for some of the color work in that sweater by Camilla Vad. So this is yeah, a win this past couple of weeks because it's been busy with the kids home, and we've had a couple of play dates. We've been really blessed the last few, about the last like month and a half. We've met a couple of other families who are also blended school families. And so blended school is where the kids go to school a couple of days a week and then they're home the rest of the time and they get homework. And there's two sort of models here in British Columbia. One of the models is that you do most of the curriculum, and then the other model is that the school provides it and they tell you what to do basically at home. And then your role is facilitator. So we're doing that model, but we've been blessed to have met some other families who are doing one or the other. And so we've been getting together with a couple of those families for the kids to kind of meet other kids that are going to be doing what we're doing. And it gives me an idea of sort of what to expect and how things are going to shift and change. So this summer is kind of like the experimentation dry run of what our life is going to be like going forward with the kids home more and shifting things around. And so far so good. So let's keep our fingers crossed. Josie has a great question. Do you guide everyone's spin on the spinning circle, or is everyone working on their own thing? So that's a great question, Josie. Thank you for bringing that up. So I'll just pivot for just a moment away from that spin, and we'll just talk about spinning circle for a moment, and I can just answer a couple of questions. So the spinning circle is the monthly, so the spinning circle is kind of what I call our community. So when I write you guys a blog post, or when I write a bigger post on the blog or on Patreon, I'll say Dear Spinning Circle. So that's kind of everybody that's a part of our community, whether you're part of Patreon or not. So if there's a blog post on wellforpearls.com, which is sort of public and out there for everybody, the spinning circle is just everybody who considers them a part of the woolen spinning community, whether you're on a Ravelry group or Instagram or whatever. Spinning Pearls is the monthly teaching content. So Spinning Pearls used to just be called the monthly teaching content because for 2 years the teaching content was 51 yarns. And once we wrapped up 51 yarns, it kind of pivoted into what we now call Spinning Pearls. And that was thanks to the community. I think it was Diane actually, Diane Barrows, who actually came up with the name Spinning Pearls, because I asked you guys if you could come up with a name for the teaching content. So in the channel on Slack called #LuxuryFibersAlong, or on the Ravelry group in the thread called Luxury Fibers Along, which is going for the whole year. And we'll just keep it going indefinitely as people are working on stuff. That's the place to sort of, as you're working through your spinning, and if you're coming into problems or you have stuff to share, Laura was just sharing recently about a Kiviot spin that she did. And she was also sharing about some of the camelid spinning she's been doing recently. She's working on an alpaca blend. Those are the places to share and to work through your process, and everybody here will be able to support you. Now, the Wool Circle is the live stream that happens bi-monthly that is usually it's between half an hour and 45 minutes, and we actually get on my wheel and I walk you through my process for that fiber, whether it's mulberry silk, 50/50 Romney Icelandic, we did Badger Blackface Badger Black Welsh Mountain a few weeks back in June. We did Romney, combing Romney yesterday. What else have we done? We've done all sorts of luxury fibers. We did a camel silk spin yesterday. Yeah, so the Wool Circle is the live stream, Spinning Pearls is the teaching content, and then How I Spin is the vlog where we actually walk through the process from beginning to end. I know it's a lot. Don't ever hesitate to ask me and to send me a message and be like, I'm not sure which one, and I'm not sure where I need to be. Just send me a message and I will break it down for you, because I know the tiers on Patreon can be really confusing. However, they're once you understand and once you are able to navigate the index, it all starts to make sense. It just takes time. So please don't ever hesitate to message me. So let's pivot now to the Romney. This is 2 ounces of the Romney from the School of Sweet Georgia. And so this is part of the long wools. And depending on where your Romney comes from and depending on where you source it and depending on sort of what you are working on, it just depends on how long or how short or how fine or how coarse it is and what the micron count sort of is. So we are going to spin it today. I'm just going to strip it down a little bit to make it a little bit more manageable. And what I am actually going to do is behind the scenes later, I am actually going to load this onto a distaff because I have been really enjoying spinning on a distaff lately. I have found that my prep has been on point when I take the time to load a distaff. I was loading my distaff on Thursday morning on the maker morning, and I timed myself because I wanted to know how long it would take, and it took from start to finish loading the distaff while we were chatting and getting the maker morning up and running. So there was a couple of pauses and interruptions on my end because I was letting people in, and it took 20 minutes to load about how much fiber was it? About 50 grams of fiber. So that's not bad. We sort of have this idea in our head that it's going to take forever, but really it really didn't. So I have one of my small handheld distaves here. And this one was gifted to me by my friend Kim McKenna, who is over at Clada Fiber Arts. And I highly recommend that you check her out. And if you can get into one of her workshops, I also recommend that. So what I'm going to do is I strip this down, and I tried to keep it as clean as possible, but I am moving quickly because I am cognizant of the time. And I'm just going to go all the way along, and I'm just going to pre-draft all of this. And then instead of rewinding it back up, I'm actually going to wind it onto the distaff from the end that I end up at, so that I spin from the smooth end from where I started pre-drafting. So what I like to do, I've tried winding this on a few different ways. I've tried my friend Kim's method. I've tried other methods that I've seen online. What I have found works for me based on my drafting hand and how I draft is actually to just roll it or to turn it like this. My friend Kim, she does it like this. I find rolling it is actually a little bit easier for me just with my hand mechanics. And I don't roll it tightly like I used to. I keep it really, really, really loose. And then I end up at the end with it. So I did split it into 4, Charlotte, but not I wasn't measuring. I was just trying to strip it down quickly. So I was going to strip it down evenly so that I have 2 bobbins, but I don't know if I might just rewind it, but this isn't evenly split. So I split one of these again. So I probably will end up splitting it 8 or maybe 12 times. So if I split this one again, and then I may end up splitting it again one more time. I'm kind of ripping it apart. I don't mean to. It's just because I'm trying to move relatively quickly. So I don't think that I would strip this again, but I would probably, but as I'm pre-drafting, I can tell whether or not it's sort of about the thickness that I want. I kind of like to strip these fibers about the thickness of my thumb. I don't like to go much finer, and I don't like to go much thicker, because I find that for me, and you have to play with this, it gives me a really nice sport weight yarn. Not too fine, not too thick. I find if I spin a lot of really super fine yarn, which is sort of what I started doing when I first started spinning, was, just spinning really, really super fine. I found that I just have what's ended up happening is I've ended up with a stash full of really, really, like light fingering weight yarn, and I just don't know what to do with it. So I'm probably going to end up, weaving with a lot of it over time. I am ruining the prep. You're absolutely right, Eve. I've got fluff in my nose, so I'm really sorry, you guys. I'm kind of sniffly a little bit. So I'm going to go to the product camera and we'll pivot to the wheel, and we'll walk through what we're going to try to create today and what we're going to try to accomplish. So Romney has about 4 crimps per inch in the fleece. So if I've already lost you, that's totally fine. And you can always watch this as a replay and go through it. So it was combed prep, Charlotte, you're absolutely right. So Romney has 4 crimps per inch. So what we're going to do is I'm going to go through what it looks like at the wheel to spin to a finished yarn of 4 twists per inch, okay? So if I've already lost you, that's totally fine. And I just realized I have to grab my measuring tape. So one sec. Something is really irritating my nose. I'm trying not to sniffle too much, but holy smokes, something really got into my nose. So I did all of this math before we started talking on the podcast. So all of the math is here. So if you come back and watch this later, you can pause this and you can have a look at all of my numbers, and you can have a look at what I am doing here. So you can pause that and have a look. So we are going to just assume that everybody kind of has a certain level of knowledge around this. And the reason why we're going to do that is just because of time, and a lot of this is the stuff that we cover in all of our teaching content, particularly the How I Spin content. So if you want more of this type of stuff, that's the place to find it. So 20 inches from the orifice of the wheel is about here. Now you'll notice with the Magikrafт, because of the floating flyer at the front, let me just turn the camera so that you can really see, there's nowhere to kind of put anything or to tape anything to sort of work with a string, which is usually what I do when I'm on my Lendrum or my Magikrafт. Actually all of my wheels except this wheel. So if you measure 20 inches from the orifice of the wheel to my thigh, and actually this isn't where I'm going to be spinning, so I should move it to where I'm going to be spinning. It's about the corner of my apron. So when I say, oh, this was spinning 20 inches, I just know that based on where I sit, that generally it's the corner of the apron, but I wanted to show that to you guys and kind of prove it to you, if you will. So if I turn the camera back a little bit, I did all of the math already. So if we're spinning to 4 twists per inch in our finished yarn, our singles need to have about just shy of 7 twists per inch in the singles. So over 20 inches, and I'm just going to get started, I'm going to need to treadle 5 times. And of course this is tangled. I am going to need to treadle 5 times. So let me just get started. I never count the first couple of like things. That doesn't make any sense, but you know what I mean. Like I don't count any of this right now. Okay, so what this looks like is I'm going to count with my right foot is the one that I count with. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So 5 is the wind on, okay? I need to just up my uptake just a little bit. All right, so let's do that again. 1, 2, 3, 4, and that was 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, so are there any questions? I missed, which wheel is this one? This is my Susie, my Magikrafт Susie. So 1, 2, 3, 4, and you can see 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And you can see how slow I am. Like I'm actually having trouble getting all 5 twists, all 5 treadles in there because I'm just such a slow treadler. So some people, 5 would feel like not enough. Like by the time they get to here, they'll be at like, 7 or 8 treadles. But for me, that's why I need these high ratios. So if you're a really, really fast treadler, you could go down to a ratio of like 11 or 12 to 1 or 8 to 1, and you could do like 9 or 10 treadles. It doesn't matter what the ratio is. You just need to know what kind of treadler you are. So if we do a plyback test, and we'll have a look at the singles in just a minute. So this is what the yarn looks like. And this is why spinning to the crimps is so revolutionary, because look at that yarn. Let me just wait for it to focus. Look at that yarn. It's consistent. It's got a wee bit of a halo because it's a long wool. Sorry, the camera doesn't like my hand. It likes my ring, but because there's all this light down here, it wants to focus on that. It's got this beautiful twist angle. The yarn, this 2-ply is about 12 wraps per inch. So it's a little bit finer than what Anne Field suggested. She suggested spinning singles at 12 wraps per inch for a plied yarn of 8 wraps per inch, but I don't spin that thick. So I kind of ignored that and just spun to the thickness that I like. Which you can do up to a point. There comes a point where if your yarn is too thin and you don't have enough twist, regardless of the crimps per inch, you need to put in more twist. Now let's see how we did with our twist per inch. So we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Look at that. It's perfect. 4 twists per inch, 8 bumps per inch. And it's just like, it has a lovely hand. This would be, as a 2-ply, this would just be awesome for a sweater yarn. Awesome. So let's look at the singles so that you guys can see that. I'm just gonna put it on a card so that you can have a look at what the singles look like. So the singles are, actually, I'll do that later. What we'll do right now is I'll just tell you what the twists per inch were. So the finished yarn was about 12, so we would expect the singles to be about 24, and they are. So they're 24. So now I've got lots and lots of questions. So let me answer those in just a sec, because I wanted to also show you guys the 3-ply plyback test. So let me just fold here. So when you're doing a 3-ply plyback, you just fold, and then from the orifice side, you wrap the yarn so that you can control the twist. Now, I only did the math for 2-ply yarns, so you guys can play around with the 3-ply, but this is the 3-ply, and that would just be an absolutely perfect sweater yarn. Look at that, and look at that twist. Isn't that absolutely beautiful? As I wax poetic about twist and wraps per inch, and you guys can tell this is where I get really excited. So my twist angle with this one is 40 degrees, maybe just shy, sort of like 38 degrees. And the yarn is about, I'm gonna guess it's about 10 wraps per inch, and that's exactly where it is. There you go. Isn't that awesome? So I would say this is probably even more like 9, maybe 9 wraps per inch. Oh no, it's probably 10. Yeah, about 10. Anyways, beautiful yarn. So that is how you spin to your crimps per inch. So you want to sort of reverse engineer your spinning. So if you want to finish with a 4 twists per inch, you need to reverse engineer how many twists you're putting in, so that you end up with basically you want to make sure that your 5 and on. You need to make sure that I can't have so many things going on when I need to explain the math. Okay, so in Ann Field's book, Spinning Wool Beyond the Basics, she talks about, there's sort of two, I don't want to confuse people, so this is sort of for people who are a little bit further along in their spinning journey. But Anne talks about spinning to applying to 1.5 times I'm going to confuse you guys. So Mabel Ross and Ann Field are a little bit different in how much ply twist they suggest to put in. So Mabel Ross says to put in 2/3 and Ann Field says 50%. So it's a little bit different. So if you're spinning to a finished yarn of 4 twists per inch, then according to Ann, you would put 6 twists per inch in your singles. Whereas with Mabel Ross, you would put in 7. It's like 6.68 or something. It's 7 twists per inch. So when you guys screenshot this, you guys can have a look at that because I wrote it all down. So really at that point, what I would say is just sample. If you prefer a finished yarn with 50%, then go with that. And if you prefer a slightly higher twist yarn that's a little bit tighter, go with the 2/3. And then both of them sort of seem to agree that for a 3-ply, it's 3/4. So that kind of gets people started. And we don't need to go into the minutia of all of that right this second because it's a lot for the podcast. But this is the stuff that we talk about in the teaching content. So if this stuff is the stuff that interests you guys, please let me know. So there are some great questions in chat. So let me just go through and answer them so that we don't move on without answering those questions first. So what is the difference between the Magicraft Suzy Pro and the Magicraft Suzy? So great question, Eve. When these wheels were first being made, the Magicraft Suzy Pro had a slightly heavier drive wheel, at which the idea is, smoother spinning for longer, etc., etc. Now, if you buy them, they're exactly the same weight, and there's a huge discussion thread on the Magicraft fans group in Ravelry. I know Ravelry isn't accessible for everybody, but in that thread, if you can get a friend to read it to you or something, there's a whole discussion about the differences between the two wheels. The Magicraft Suzy, the drive wheel, is the wood. It's the Magicraft wood, and the Magicraft Suzy Pro, the wheel is the what's it called? It's a different composite. So it's theoretically supposed to be smoother, and it's supposed to be a little bit better for spinning for a long time. I've spun on both. I don't find a really big difference. Mine is a newer one. It's about 10 years old, so I don't think it's a heavier drive wheel like the original ones were. If you reach your 20 inches before you are ready to wind on, do you just hold it there sort of like you would? Absolutely, Tracy. You just hold it while you add the extra treadles. And when I get into a rhythm where I'm really relaxed and I'm really just 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 and on, or actually usually how I count is 1, 2, 3, 4 on, 1, 2, 3, 4 on. I find that my hands naturally speed up. I'm a very fast drafter, which is not a good mix with slow feet. And so I'll just sit there for a few minutes. Not minutes, but for a couple seconds while my treadling catches up. Is it the same twist per inch if you were doing a 2-ply or a 3-ply, 1.5 crimps? So if you're doing a 3-ply, you're going to apply to 3/4 of the ply twist. So that's why the 2-ply is a great place to start with your sampling. Are you also counting the number of times you draft over? No. So Dorothy, I don't count the number of times I draft. My primary concern when I'm doing this type of spinning is that the twist across that 20 inches is the same every 20 inches of yarn. And I'm more consistent about grabbing the same number of fibers every time for a really super consistent yarn. So I'm not quite so concerned about my actual drafting, if that makes sense. If I was spinning short forward and I was doing 1 treadle for every draft forward, so I was going like 1, 2, 3, then yes, I would make sure that distance to draft in the counting was exactly bang on. What ratio did you take? I was on 27 to 1 because of my treadling being so slow. The 3-ply is amazing, Josie. Absolutely. And actually, for a yarn that is incredibly structurally like bang on, it is quite lofty. And I think that's where you get the benefit of the continuous back, where you don't have to smooth it quite as firmly. So you're getting all that twist in there, but you're still making a light, lofty yarn. Does anyone know if people centuries ago did this level of controlled spinning? It would be interesting to know. I would love to know, Elizabeth. If anybody has the answer to that, I would love to hear. Interesting. They wouldn't have had ratios for spinning wheels. And people would make their own. So they would, some of the wheels that have been found, they were really just almost sort of cobbled together by sort of somebody in the house who did a level of woodworking that they could kind of cobble it together. So I don't think so. I know that with the long wools, you would stay away from the high twist angle. Absolutely. So you wouldn't get ropey yarn. Absolutely. So Romney that's why I was saying about the medium. Romney is one of those funny ones where it's sort of, depending on where it comes from and what it the flock and the sheep, and whether or not it's just a single, like from a single fleece, or if it's a whole bunch of stuff mixed together, a whole bunch of Romney from different stuff, it can often act more like a medium. So you really have to sample. You just don't know. It's definitely not ropey. Definitely not ropey. This is an absolutely beautiful yarn. Yeah, so definitely not ropey. Great question, Charlotte. How does the staple length factor in? The Romney fleece I have is pretty long. Yeah, so the longer your staple length, the more this is going to be a matter of sampling. So the idea with spinning to crimps per inch is if you have the fleece, you can count the crimps per inch in your fleece. So if your fleece is quite long stapled and it's only, say, 3 crimps per inch, because you've got more of that long wavy crimp, then you can spin to that. The kind of overall average and what's given in Anne's book is that Romney is 4 crimps per inch on average, so it's a great place to start. And it's funny because we talk about these long wools getting really ropey. We still need enough twist to hold them together, and that's often more twist than people think. So do your sampling, because we talk about like Wensleydale getting really super ropey and really super wiry, but then we put in so little twist, we overcompensate, like what we were talking about last show, and we end up with yarns that fall apart. Book name again, great, Julie. Dana gave that to you. I am totally interested in this subject. I haven't heard about the half ratio plied yarn in the singles. So the 2/3 comes from Mabel Ross, and then the half comes from Anne Fields. It's right here in her book. Let me see if I can find it. I don't want to spend a bunch of time looking for it, but it is here. I think, yeah, here we go. No, not here. Where is it? I'll see if I can find it later. You're looking on the pages in this book. If you have this book, you are looking on pages 80. Let's see, 80, 82 to about 90, 93. I would highly recommend that you read through all of that. So yeah. What is the cutoff staple length for the long wools? I don't think there really is one, Dorothy. I think it really depends on how the fleece handles. You can have really super long stapled Rambouillet or really super long stapled Targhee or Polworth where they're really, really long. And you start to get into kind of more of a long wool spinning, but you're still kind of more in the fine wools. So, I think you really have to go by what you've got and what your fibers are. There are things out there that are like, where it's like over 4 inches, you're getting into the long wools and some of that, but I just don't have those numbers off the top of my head, so I don't want to give somebody misinformation. I have that book. Am I allowed to take a photo of the page and post it on the Slack chat? It's a copyright breach, Eve. We can quote it, but it's not, we can't start posting the actual book. With longish wools, would you do a low twist single, high twist ply, or something else? You know what, Josie? I often do that. And when we're talking high twist ply with the long wools, we're not talking like high twist. We're talking like, 40 degrees instead of like 55 degrees kind of thing. Like you're talking, there's not a lot of difference. Like even this, it is actually quite firmly plied, but it's still only a twist angle of 40 degrees. So yeah. The cover can be promoted. Sorry, I thought that Eve wrote about the actual page. The cover can be promoted, but not we shouldn't be taking photos of the actual content of the book. Yeah. Let me see. I just want to catch all of the long wools for me are mostly about type of curl and structure than the actual inches. Absolutely, Becca. Thank you. That's a really great way of kind of summing that up. Yeah. So if there's any other questions, keep them coming. I'm going to turn. I think what happened is I can feel it. I actually have a piece of fluff in my nose, and that's what's aggravating me. So it's kind of funny. Like it's right. I can feel it. It's right up in my nose. So I'm sorry that I'm kind of sniffling now. You guys are so patient and able to go with that. So thank you. Okay. So this is my Enchanté by Emily Louis. It is an absolutely beautiful pattern. I have really enjoyed working on this. So this is my hand spun Beaumont alpaca that I spun back in May and June now, I guess. It's getting to be a while. It was a 2-ply. It was 50-50. And we actually are going to be talking about it in our How I Spin content. About all the sampling and all the twists and twist branch and all that stuff that we just went through, that we're gonna be going through all of that in the How I Spin content with this yarn and making a weaving yarn versus a knitting yarn. I finished the shoulders. So this is the front. It's a bit confusing which is the front and which is the back, but I did finally figure it out. The back is a bit higher. And you can see how it just really beautifully, without washing and blocking, it just, the lace just sits absolutely beautifully. I'm a little bit worried about the size of the arm sky. I'm a little bit worried that it's gonna be a wee bit tight. So I might pick up a couple of extra stitches just to make sure I have enough ease. I actually, unfortunately, have to take out the I-cord. So this is an I-cord bind off that you do all the way around, and you pick up stitches and you leave live stitches on at the front and the back, and then you pick up along the sides and up the shoulders. It's a beautiful finish and it really looks great. It's too tight. So in the pattern, she asks you to go down to I can't remember what the needle sizes are, so maybe somebody could help me out, but you go down from knitting the body on 5mm needles, and I got gauge on 4.5. So if somebody could post the US size needles, that would be really helpful because I don't have them up right here. So the 4.5mm needles are US size 7. Is that right, you guys? And then if you have gauge based on the pattern, you're knitting on 5mm needles. And then for the I-cord, she asks you to go all the way down to 3.5mm needles. So I was like, oh, that seems a bit tight for my gauge and for what's going on. But I did have to go down for needles for the body, so I'll do that. It's too tight. So I need to redo it. I'm going to redo it on 4mm needles, so US size 6, and it'll just loosen it up. It's just too tight, and it doesn't sit on my dress form nicely. So I just thought, you know what? No harm, no foul. It took me about an hour to do, and I will redo it in a US size 4, and I'll just rip it out, pick up all those stitches from ripping it out, and then redo it on the 4mm needles. It'll give it a little bit more ease. So, oh, thank you, Laura. So so 3.5mm is a US size 4. So it's pretty small to go down from a 5mm all the way down to a 3.5. And I understand why she gets you to do it. It's because it gives you lots of structure. But with the hand spun and how fine it is and being held with the kid mohair silk, it just needs a little bit more movement and a little bit more ease for me. It just needs a little bit more. I played around with the gauge for this, but not so much that it wrecked the pattern. So unlike my Cyrus, what was that pattern called? It's all in the project bag, and I've kind of put it on hold while I'm deciding what to do. My orange and my orange, bright orange sweater with the being held with the CVM. With this, my gauge was off by about 1.5 stitches. So if I went down to knit the smallest size, I'll actually end up with the next, like with the size 2, which is perfect for me and perfect for my size. So it'll give me some nice ease through the waist. And I did lengthen it, so you do a certain number of chart repeats, and then you divide, and I did 2 extra chart repeats just to give myself some extra length in the torso. So hopefully that I'll be onto the sleeves this week, and it's gone really, really fast. Holy smokes, you guys, it's gone so fast. So, oh, thank you for that, Kaylee. There's an excellent article in the plying issue, of Ply Magazine that talks through plying twist at 2/3 versus 1/2 of your singles. It's in the issue 15, which was winter of 2016. Thank you so much, Kaylee. I also wonder, Becca, so she said the distinction is far easier when you have the original staple, hence the breed guides where Romney generally behaves as a long wool. I wonder, I'm just asking, I have no basis for this whatsoever, but I wonder if Romney in the UK is a little bit more standardized than the Romney over here. I just wonder. So it would be really interesting to sort of say whether or not, the Romney over in the UK is sort of more like a long wool, and if over here it's getting a bit muddied and it's sort of, we're getting a more variety. I just wonder, because North America is quite a bit bigger geographically, where you've probably got farms kind of doing their own thing, and then you've got lambs fleeces versus grown, and it would be fascinating to know. You have said in the past that alpaca is easy over spin, but the Beaumont is a fine wool. I would still spin it like the alpaca. And actually this really, the Beaumont alpaca, it really only took a certain amount of twists. Like after a certain point, you could feel it building up, and I just had to carry on. Enjoy, Becca, have fun. Enjoy your family dinner. And Kath just had her mom and dad's 50th wedding anniversary. Congratulations to them. Hannah says, I'm not a very technical spinner, but I feel like I generally put more ply twist into the singles. Is that bad? Definitely not. That's the majority of the yarns that me and Diana, for example, Diana Twist, who's in the chat today, the majority of her and our yarns are like that, where we put way more ply twist in than our singles, and that's part of what makes these really light, lofty yarns. With these really beautiful aesthetics where you get this really gorgeous twist angle. So definitely food for thought, Hannah. And again, just sample and see. Somebody had posted on Instagram, he had posted this really, really super over twisted 3-ply, and it was just kinky and curly, and he was like, oh no. And then he washed it and set it and finished it. And of course the washing process, so much of that twist dissipated, and he ended up with this beautiful, just on point 3-ply Cheviot for socks. And I just thought, you nailed it. You just needed all that extra twist. It dissipates in the water, and you end up with this beautiful yarn. So yeah, definitely don't be afraid of twist. My experience, oh, thank you, Diana. My experience with lower mainland Romney is that there is a lot of variation in staple length due to availability of shearers and the consistency of crimp. That's great to know, Diana. Thank you. All right, let's go into community participation, and I will see you guys. I think that was everything I wanted to talk about. It was lots today, and I'll see you guys on the other side. All right, we've got some really cool stuff today. So let me just scroll to where I need to be. This is from Megan. So we're gonna start off, actually, let's just slow down a minute. So we are in the middle of Spindle Spun Summer, Tour de Fleece, which is amazing. The number of photos through Tour de Fleece and Spindle Spun Summer has been unbelievable. I'm actually thinking I'll do a couple of videos of just scrolling through Slack of all of the projects and everything that people have been doing to share with you guys, especially sort of as we get to the end of the tour. It'll probably be like 5 minutes long, but it would be just so much fun to share that with you guys. So lots of Tour de Fleece today, lots of Spindle Spun Summer today. We do have prizes for Spindle Spun Summer. I have links in the show notes for you guys if you are curious about learning more about Spindle Spun Summer. We're going to be finishing on the autumnal equinox, and then we also have our giveaway for July. So July is the month of Tour de Fleece. So tell us about your goals for this year's tour. And the Ravelry episode thread to enter is here, or you can comment on YouTube. Don't throw it into the live chat. Throw it into the comment section on YouTube and tell us what you're working on for Tour de Fleece. And what I've been doing, I'm actually going to work on it today, is I'm putting together some kits for our giveaways for the last couple of months and for the couple of months coming up of the camelid blends that I've been spinning for the spinning pearls and the How I Spin content for you guys to spin and to work through. So that will be coming, that will be sort of the prizes for the next couple of months while we work through the camelid content. So this is from Megan. This is our breeding color study. This is her Shetland study. So this our Shetland study is over, but lots of people are still working on stuff and posting photos, which is wonderful. Somebody just posted this past week about their Charolais breed study, which was really fun to see that finishing up. So if you're working on old breeding color study, like please still post and share, because we're all still interested and we all still want to see what you ended up doing. So this is Megan's, finally got one triangle of her breeding color done, 3 more to go. So I'm not sure exactly how this is going to work. I know that she's working on a shawl, and then she's got, I'm excited to see the finished product because I'm not exactly sure how this is going to go together. She threw in some commercial yarn, and she combined it with the breeding color study. It's just beautiful. This is from Alex. So she did her own dyeing for this one, which is really fun. So with breeding color study, you do not need to buy the fiber. You just need to participate, basically. So July is going live on Monday morning. We are studying Jacob for our next go round. If you are a patron of the community, the link for purchasing with the password for the first hour is being posted tomorrow. So tomorrow's ordering link will be there. And that will be ready to go for 9 a.m. on Monday morning. So Monday, July 12th, write that down. I'll wait. The ordering link will go live. And I shared all of this last time, but we've got the carded kit that Katrina has made. And we've also got the kit that you get to play with, and you get to decide how you spin and what you do. So super, super fun. We'll be working on this through to the end of December. And this is from Alex. So she did her own dyeing for this Shetland study. As a follow-up to the Shetland breeding color study, made a hat with the Murret skein. It's spun a bit thinner than the white, so I didn't have to supplement it. I've shared the other hat before, but thought that it would be neat to show how they worked up side by side. And then she has a picture of the original braids just for fun. So you can see her original braids that she did. I love that gray one. And then her hats that she knit up. Just absolutely beautiful. I love the striping in the white one. This is from Kaylee. So this is her Charolais. She took I finally feel like I have done the Charolais breed and color study justice. This time around, I blended the cool colors and the warm colors separately. For giggles, I carded some of the colors all together. So this blend looks terrible as fiber, but now all spun up. I love it. No one color wins. It just looks like oatmeal heathered yarn. The fiber and the colors of this study really challenged me. They are so different from what I have worked with recently, but have helped me appreciate a carded prep and stronger fibers. I will be carding up the rest of the warm and cool colors that remain to repeat this yarn, and this is approximately 75 grams and produced 109 yards of 2-ply, and it's a fingering to sport. Beautiful, Kaylee. I love these colors. I really, really enjoy, like when you have all those crazy colors and all those crazy brights, and then you put them all together, and it always makes gray brown, and I just love them so much. I did that with our study back. It was our Targi study, and I can't remember what Katrina called the colorway, but it was these nests of fibers, and they were really, really, really bright. Some people stripped them all apart. Some people spun them all together. Some people blended them all together. Lots of people did lots of different stuff. Anyways, I ended up, one of my sample yarns was this, where I took all of them and I just blended them and blended them and blended them. And that was my favorite yarn of the study. It was really fun to make. This is from Shauna. 9 a.m. Pacific on Monday. Absolutely, Julie, you got it. Yeah, 9 a.m. Pacific daylight time on Monday, July 12th. So I'll just put that in the chat. And at 10 a.m., the ordering link goes live for everyone. So if you are not a patron of the community, do not fret not. It will be opened up to everybody as of 10 a.m. And this round, there's lots of stuff available. The carded studies are always a little bit different than the combed. So please don't worry about getting stuff. This is from Shauna for Tour de Fleece. She's been spinning and spinning and spinning. So Shauna said, not a ton of spinning today, but I'm starting the week from HELL at work tonight. I work graveyard shift, and the 4th of July week is a true nightmare. I feel you, Shauna. I always hated, I'm not exactly sure what you do, but I always hated working a merge the week of July 1st for us as Canada Day, and I also hated working the week of New Year's. We work 12-hour shifts, so that doesn't leave a lot of extra time in the day, but my goal for the next week is to do a minimum of 1 piece of fiber for my combo spin a day. I doubt I can stop at just 1, but it's attainable. It's an attainable goal and still forward progress. And it's beautiful. Your spinning is beautiful, Shauna, and we're thinking about you. This is from Janelle. All of her Tweety yarn. Done with the singles for my Tweety sweater. This is 1 pound, 10 ounces, so it's about 740 grams. Have you heard me rave about this fleece? It's so good. 100% Corriedale, super dark brown, uniform crimp for miles, soft and squishy and yummy. Today I am in Ply Town and maybe fleece washing because 2 more arrived from the same farm. It looks amazing. Amazing, Janelle. This is from Crystal. I've been really enjoying Crystal's posts. They've been absolutely hilarious. So this is her Tour de Fleece Day 5. Still spinning my signed yarn. The message in Morse code has expanded as I have a lot more space than I previously thought. Enough, I think, for a haiku. It will now read, so her yarn is in Morse code, okay? So like those bumps are Morse code. It will now read, Crystal Taylor Hesser, spinner and occasional unicorn. Absolutely. A delicate dance, a slow moving tornado. These tender hands speak. Followed up with this entry on Slack for day 6. She finished up her signed yarn, and now the full message reads, Crystal Taylor Hesser, spinner and occasional unicorn, a delicate dance, a slow moving tornado. These tender hands speak. I've had such a blast spinning this. It's time for a change of pace, though. Beautiful, Crystal. And I love that you did that with that yarn. I think we should all do that. We should do a crystal signed yarn along. I think that would just be so much fun to figure out a message in Morse code and then stick it into the yarn. Like, how cool is that? Amazing. Love it. That is so cool. So, thank you, Laura. So, Shauna, I'm not sure if Shauna's here, but I asked her about the spindle on Slack, and it's Karab wool. Thank you, because I had actually meant to put that in, and I didn't. This is from Sarah. So she finally got started on her spin. She had to finish up her sample and swatch with it to check that it would knit up well for the main color for Flat Rock by Jennifer Beal. I was super happy with it, and it made me all the more excited to spin up this fiber and attempt what I'm thinking of as an epic sweater. I'm pairing my hand spun with a contrast color kit from Fleece and Harmony. My hand spun is Snow Ash from the Devonia range, 50% Exmoor Blueface and 30% Blueface Lister, 20% Wensleydale from John Arbin. So this is just, I'll slow down. This is 50% Exmoor Blueface, 30% Blueface Lister, and then 20% Wensleydale. Beautiful spinning, Sarah. Absolutely beautiful. I don't know if you're doing a 2-ply or a 3-ply, but wow, so consistent and beautiful. This is from Josie, who's here in the chat today. I just love this spin. Yesterday I applied 4 of my 8 ounces of this fiber. Since there was quite bright yellow and green in those braids, I was thinking of pairing this yarn in a shawl with some Crazy Knit Picks chroma. So that's the chroma in the background. I'm not sure that it will be a good match anymore. The shawls I'm thinking about distribute both colorways quite evenly throughout. So she's thinking about Cinnabar or Botanical. She was totally inspired by the Fat Squirrel, who's Amy Beth's botanical shawl that she made a few months ago, and any advice is welcome. It's pretty close in color match. You guys know what I'm going to say. So, yeah. I have done that with Pearl Code with the, oh, cool, Sam. That's so neat. I have names of my family and dogs in the last stripe. That is so cool. So you've done that sort of Morse code as well. Oh, Sherry, I've not got the hang of Slack yet. Yeah, just send me and Eva a message about it and we'll help you navigate. Slack it's not super complicated, and once you get the hang of it, you've got it, but you just have to kind of spend some time on it. But definitely send me a message and I will help you. Yeah, you guys have got it. You got a sample. So if you're wondering about whether or not to use chroma with this yarn, do a little knit sample of striping and you'll know right away if you like it or not. Yeah. The more I see it, the more I think no. I would just do a little knit sample and see what you think. Sometimes the knitting surprises you. I know Glenda just had an experience like this where she was doing the Shades of Grey shawl and she was really torn about which order to put her hand spun versus the contrast color. And it was just a matter of sampling it. So yeah, you've got different dyers there. You've got the commercial yarn next to the hand spun, and sometimes it's hard to combine some of these yarns. We think that they're going to work and then we knit them up and they don't work as well as we think. So yeah, play around with it. This is from Jan. Days 4, 5, and 6 together, all of these are pretty much the same color, so I waited until I had finished this section in order to post a photo of all 3 finished bobbins. The 4th one is on the wheel today, and you can see the start of the deeper mango color starting to appear. I put a tiny section of white singles between the two so that when I apply, I can easily see the join. I'm going to finish up this bobbin tomorrow, and I'm probably going to ply over the next few days to clear all the bobbins of this spin. So far, all Cheviot on my bigger bobbins. And all the Cheviot on my bigger bobbins. Beautiful color. I love this color, Jan. It's so true, Sam. It's the nurse in Rachel. Samples. Absolutely. It's also the scientist in me because my master's degree is in research. So it's also the kind of researcher in me. It's like, well, I don't know. Let's try. Let's see. And just not being too attached to the outcome. This is from Eva. Update on day 7. Turns out there's no such thing as a quick sweater spin, even if it's Tour de Fleece. Who would have thought? I know, Eva, right? I often feel that way. These are the 2 skeins of coarse spun breeding color study yarn that are now completely done. A third one is spun and washed, and once it's dried, it will be run through the wheel again to remove some of the twist, then washed and dried again. And I have enough core prepared to be able to start the next bobbin. Isn't that beautiful? I loved this for the breeding color. I thought she just did an absolutely beautiful job with this. So really wonderful, Eva. This is from Amanda. She has been spinning up a storm. So she's got a couple of projects here that I've got for her. So this was day 7, another big day. The brown fennel got a soak and a snap, and after finishing, I have about 1,300 meters of light fingering weight yarn. I applied the russet alpaca. It is resting on the jumbo bobbin for a moment. I even tackled the waist bats I made the other day. I've decided that the hair in them is too coarse for boot socks, but I'll figure out what to do with them later. Upholstery maybe. The larger of the 2 bats, white raya, which is hair and wool. The brown fennel, the lumpiest of the waist fiber, I spun thick and let it be what it wanted. I haven't done that for ages and it felt weird. The other bat, white raya woolen hair. Black raya, wool only with carding waist. The russet alpaca, I split in 3 and spun a bit finer. Beautiful. Amazing spinning, Amanda. Love seeing all these different projects. Everybody's got such different things going on, you know. And this is her other spinning. So this is also from Amanda. On day 10, she took a rest, and there is a photo of her rest day coming up. Oh, isn't that beautiful? Beautiful. But then on day 11, fun with color today, since I have spun all the browns so far. Carded together a couple of merino top colors for a bit of a gradient. So this is her carding here. And another color gradient, and also some boucle. So that's coming up next in the photos. Never made boucle before, so that was interesting. Takes ages, and I am yet to find the sweet spot about how densely to put the looping ply onto the core thread to get a mid-level texture. So this is the boucle one coming up now. I underdid it with the blue and the yellow yesterday and overcompensated today, and this is why we play. By the way, I loved toned yellows of this purple yellow mud. It is my jam. I think I forgot to attach a photo of the actual boucle. So let me see if I can really quickly find it, because it is not here. So let's just let Amanda's photos do justice, and I'll just talk about boucle for just a second. We talk about boucle in the long wools module on the School of Sweet Georgia, but we've also talked about it in the teaching content over the years. One of the things that I find really works well with the boucle is to kind of get that medium texture when you're working with wool. I really like kind of having the core yarn covered, but where you can still really see that core that you're doing the looping yarn over top of. So for me personally, if I can see that core underneath, I'm usually like pretty happy with how dense it's going on and what's happening. I find if it's not covered enough, I don't know why the boucle yarns aren't looping and why they're not adding in. Anyways, maybe you guys saw the photos and I didn't see them. That's totally possible. You just need to, I just find if you cover that core nicely, it just is like the perfect sweet spot. If it's not covered enough, you don't get enough boucle. And if you cover it too much, it just ends up being this like fuzzy mess. So yeah. Can you share the Sweet Georgia 3? Oh, thanks, Sam. Yes, I will throw it into Slack later. Okay, my friend. Thank you so much for asking for that. I'm not sure where the boucle photos are. I just threw them in, so I'm not sure why they're not coming up. But I will share them in the Slack channel later, and I can also put them into the show notes of the show. This is from Sue. She's doing all the plying. Here's my first week of Tour de Fleece. It's been fun, but pretty demanding time-wise at the same time. My plying skills have definitely improved, and I found a center pull ball works well for this size of skein. This will all be going into a domino blanket with some carded white Corriedale fleece for the main color. Beautiful. Love that, Sue. This is from Alicia. I don't know how she's finding time. You guys always joke about me finding time, but she's got a newborn and a toddler. Feeling good about getting a bit of spinning in. My goal is to get caught up on my Long Way Fiber Club shipments. This is Border Cheviot, and it is super fluffy. Beautiful spinning, Alicia. Absolutely gorgeous. This is from Josie as well. Josie finished up her 3 Waters Farm Summer Shade BFL bobbin today, which means half of her fractal singles. Tomorrow will be a day off. We are going to a big amusement water park. I hope you had a blast. And there are 2 shots of the first bobbin before she finished. Thank you for sharing. And this is from Tori. I love these colors. You guys know these are my colors. Tori's neglected the rest day and she's been spinning while her sweet pup has been resting with her bad leg. I hope she's healing well. I'm nearly through a second bobbin of the braid I'm working on and tempted to push through to start plying to see the beautiful colors all plied up. I can't wait to see you post a photo, Tori. This is from Dion. Beautiful yarn. I've neglected the rest day and have been busy spinning while my sweet, oh no, sorry, that was Tori. Here's my spin for today. I made a 2-ounce art bat from complementary wool colors, mulberry silk, silk noil, sari silk, gold angelina, and wine colored fire star. Isn't that gorgeous? The bat looked interesting before I spun it, but looked a bit blah when done. I thread plied it with gold thread and scrunched it when I got to the thicker parts. This is my first art yarn and I absolutely love the end result. It's about a DK worsted. This is incredible. So what you did there, Dion, was you basically made a super coil, which is fantastic. It's just awesome. Beautiful yarn. Absolutely gorgeous. This is from Tanya. All of her spindles, and this is going to take us right into Spindle Spun Summer. I'm doing all my Tour de Fleece spinning on spindles. It's been really great, over 150 grams spun so far, which is amazing. Sam, I'm going to post the affiliate link now because otherwise I'm going to forget. I just can tell that because the show is so long, which is great. I know you guys enjoy the live stream, but I start to lose my voice. Spindle Spun Summer. This is from Becca. I'm so glad this spin along gave me a little push to finish up the yak singles and get it plied. You guys, I'm so pleased with this skein. It has reignited my drive for the portfolio work. So Becca is working on her master spinner right now in Scotland. It's incredibly light and fluffy, and my son asked if he could sleep on it when he felt it. It was a year in the making, but I don't mind. It's beautiful, Becca. This is from Mars of the Hey Brownberry podcast. She was happy to have her classy squid spindle with her on her long weekend trip. Before packing for the trip, she cleared off some spindles of natural fibers, and now she's creating a bunch of fun little minis that she can combine into a project as she goes. I love this idea, just clearing off all the spindles and all those beautiful natural shades. This is from Wendy. Eve says I should learn sign language so that I can give people what they want, which is a super long show. Dana, registering for Tour de Fleece is super simple. You just join in. So you can either join in on the Ravelry thread in the Woolen Spinning group, that's Tour de Fleece 2021, or on the Slack channel TDF 2021. It's one of the channels. Somebody will tag you if you want. You don't have to register. You just join in. This is from Wendy. She was spinning at the skate park in Charlottetown. Is it Charlottetown? Place in Ontario while her husband skateboards on the way home from camping. That's awesome. I love that your husband skateboards. I used to skateboard. I had a really good one actually, and I loved doing it. I was always afraid of the tricks and stuff, but I got really good at just cruising. And I really wanted to get a longboard, but I never did. So when the kids are kind of old enough to start doing some of that stuff, I'd really like to get them a longboard. You see the kids cruising on the longboards to our neighborhood every so often because our neighborhood is relatively flat with a couple of like gentle slopes, so the kids can really kind of go for a while, and it's fun to watch the teenagers. This is from Diana. I love these photos, Diana. Some works in progress. The fiber is a color fiber blend I made on my blending board. The spindles are selected from my favorites. The small and larger Jenkins, a small Kapar Turkish, Fang from Creative Jane, and a hand-carved one by Alan Berry. Support spindles allow me to spin while sitting in the cool of the bedroom. The Turks allow me to take them anywhere. Remove the shaft and travel to the garden, to the living room. And actually, I've been taking mine to the park, and I've been actually getting a little bit done, which is kind of nice. So slowly. This is from Kelly for Luxury Fibers Along. So this is a new blend that Katrina is bringing into the shop. It is a BFL mohair blend specifically for socks, but I mean, you could use it for anything. So Kelly finally gets to show these off. She spun this up for Katrina at Crafty Jacks as a tester for socks. It's a new base that she's offering this coming weekend. So it's Knit City this weekend here in Vancouver, virtual. And Katrina's launching this base this weekend. So if you are interested in the BFL mohair, definitely go over to craftyjacks.ca and have a look in the under fiber at the new blend. I spun and knit these in March, and I wore them in my regular sock rotation right up until it got too warm to wear wool socks anymore. This is a 3-ply fractal in the Pasuta colorway. The singles were spun at 5 to 6 twists per inch and 32 wraps per inch, and then they were plied at 5 to 6 twists per inch for a finished yarn of 16 wraps per inch. It's absolutely beautiful. I love this colorway spun as a fractal. I did the same thing with it. I still haven't done anything with the yarn, but it's just the perfect colorway to do a fractal with. All right, moving on to Zero to Hero. This is from Angela. I love these colors. How many times do I need to say, oh my goodness, these colors, you guys, I love them. So Zero to Hero is going from the fiber all the way through to a finished item. Angela finished her first successful scarf on her rigid heddle. She'd made a couple of attempts previously, but one ended up too long, the other too short. She used a commercial yarn, West Yorkshire Spinners Croft DK for the warp, and a skein of her hand spun for the weft. For the hand spun, I experimented with splitting the dyed braid into different color sections and spun each of the colors together to make a gradient top. As soon as I'd spun the yarn, I knew that I wanted to weave with it. It's beautiful. Both the warp and weft yarns are DK weight. I used the 7.5 dent reed on her loom. The scarf may be a little denser than I would have normally been aiming for, but it will still it still has nice drape and will be lovely and warm for the winter. Weaving with hand spun is so much fun, and I think everyone I know needs a hand woven scarf. Absolutely, Angela, absolutely. Oh no, that's too bad, Laura. So I love the slip mohair gives to spinning, but discovered it gives me hives, so no more slippiness. Highly recommend if you haven't tried spinning a blend with it though. Absolutely. My heart just exploded. Beautiful, gorgeous. Yeah, amazing. This is our sample spinning and play. So this is when we just come together and we just play. And in the words of Carl Jung, the creation of something new is not accomplished by the intellect, but by the play instinct. And we need to, as adults, be playing way more than we are. This is from Carly Jean. I am so in love with these photos. Carly, you are just cute as a button. I just wanted to pop in and share with y'all, she's just so cute. One of my favorite finished hand spun projects. This definitely was my first mojo last year. My husband surprised me with an Ashford E-Spinner 3, which is amazing. And I quickly picked out some Three Waters Farm braids for the night shift shawl. It was so much fun. This is beautiful, Carly, and the colors on you are amazing. I just love this. I love everything about it. Gorgeous photos and a gorgeous project. I guess we should talk about the project too. But yeah, just amazing. This is from Samantha, our dear Samantha. She's actually posted more photos of her inkle loom since she posted this, but she says, OMG, I am weaving. I am finally able to go to our local guild where we are today having a go at inkle weaving. Obviously, I have the brightest colors on my loom. Of course, Sam, of course. Beautiful. Love this. And I like the froggy mug in the background too. And she's posted more photos of other stuff that she was working on, which is really neat because she's been doing other stuff as well. So that's been really neat to see. And finally, we have a really lovely share from Rebecca. I guess this falls under play and is one of the reasons I haven't been spinning much hand spun socks. I'm messing about with a slip stitch short row sole and heel to see if it's more durable. I wonder if it'll be comfortable to walk on, Rebecca. I'm curious to know. So if you could report back, that would be great. I don't know yet, but it's successfully very squishy. Beautiful. So thank you everybody for sticking with us on this very long show today. I do find when we get into the sampling and we're at the wheel, the shows do naturally just become longer. But I know that you guys don't mind, and I know that you guys enjoy being here for the live stream every week. So thank you so much for sticking it out to the end and for being here. And I really appreciate you all coming to this place and being here. You're all welcome. And I hope that you found something here today that you enjoyed and that you enjoyed the discussion. To those who are patrons of the community, once again, thank you so much for continuing to support the show. I really appreciate you guys. And we don't have a lot coming up this week, but next week we do have the Maker Morning and the Wool Circle. And we also have, for those who are interested and are part of the Slack community, we are having an info session on July 20th at 12 noon Pacific Daylight Time with the education and with the education chair and the vice president of the OHS Master Weaver program to talk about the Master Weaver program. So if you guys are interested, the links will be posted in the Slack channel. in the hashtag weaving channel for people who have said that they are interested in that. So that's on July 20th at 12 noon. And people who are in the hashtag weaving channel of the Slack channel, just watch for the Zoom link to be posted there. Read and Color Study will go live at 9 a.m. Pacific Daylight Time on Monday. So the show is going to come out earlier than normal. I've scheduled for the show to go public this afternoon versus on Tuesday afternoon, so that those who are watching will catch that and be able to participate. You do not need to be a patron to participate. You just need to wait until 10 a.m. Pacific Daylight. So that's the only caveat there. And the links for ordering with the password, because it is password protected for the first hour, will be posted tomorrow morning so that it's the last post on Patreon when you go to the website, and you'll be able to navigate to it really quickly. So I wanted it to be right there and easy to find. So that will go up tomorrow morning. Send me a message if you're not sure and if you're a bit confused, and then you'll be up and on your way. So thank you so much. You guys have a wonderful, wonderful weekend. I hope that you are just spinning up a storm for Tour de Fleece and Spindle Spun Summer. Have a wonderful rest of your week, and I'm excited to be hearing from people as they get their stuff on Monday morning. And until next time, happy spinning, happy dreaming, happy weaving, happy knitting, happy all the things. Bye, guys.